beans. I didn't even think about having a joke or anything ready. Audio podcast listeners, you probably don't notice that I have grown a beard since the last time we've recorded. There was a real, we had a lag in recording.
There was a little gap.
There was a little gap.
Mind the gap.
Oh, yeah.
But it's quite topical to be talking about Cosmere connections in relationship to Of the Emerald Sea, because now that we're in the Cosmere Connections book.
Episode.
Yeah, episode. This is, the meta story is that it is Hoid, or Wit, whatever you prefer, Sifandrius, is telling this story to characters of the planet, some are from the same planet, the Sixth of the Dusk story, otherwise known as First of the Sun. And it's topical because,
as we're recording this, Isles of the Emberdark, the book isn't even out yet. It releases tomorrow.
And which means it's already been out for quite some time by the time this publishes. Yeah,
so if there's any references to Tress or Aethers or anything like that, we're not going to include in this. I mean, we just don't know about it yet.
But it's good to have some reminder of a little bit of the planet First of the Sun. We know that it's First of the Sun for a couple different... Oh, sorry, we should probably do an intro.
Yeah. Hello and welcome to Cosmere Casual, your casual reader's guide to the Cosmere. I'm your co-host, the bearded Nick Gorman.
I'm your co-host, still unbearded, AJ Gorman.
Yeah, and today we're talking about, how Tress of the Emerald Sea fits within the Cosmere. Spoilers abound for everything that's been published, except, I guess, Isles of the Emberdark, since that's...
We haven't read it yet.
Yeah, we haven't. It hasn't been released when we're recording this, even though it will be out. Anyway, yeah.
So getting back to what I was saying. So Hoid Sifandrius, whatever, is talking to some inhabitants of the First of the Sun. We know it's the First of the Sun, someone from the First of the Sun, or many people from the First of the Sun, because of references to water-faring people. There's even a reference to an aviar. The story is told in such a way that that the audience knows that there are other planets, and we know that First of the Sun is for sure aware that there are other planets out there.
Because, that's like the plot of Sixth of the Dusk.
Yep. So we should probably do that short story next.
From what I understand, tangent, that short story is retold with some slight edits.
In Isles of the Emberdark?
Yeah.
Okay.
So...
Well, maybe the Isles of the Emerald Dark will be their next short story.
I mean, it's a novel, but okay, yeah. Yeah, maybe that'll...
I know so much about what's going on, for sure.
I mean, it hasn't even come out yet. You're not behind.
It's so hard to keep up.
All right.
I'm just still getting caught up on the stuff that's been published for ages. I'm just like, didn't know that was in there.
I've only read the book 3 times.
Or 20. Okay, so we don't know exactly when this Hoid is telling this story. We do know that it is before the events of Yumi and the Nightmare Painter.
How do we know that?
Because in Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, he talks about safeguards that he put in place on his person in reaction to what happened to him in this story, which is why he got turned to a statue, because his safeguards backfired.
Gotcha. Okay, so we know that the events of Tress of the Emerald Sea are before You Mean the Nightmare Painter, but we don't know...
Well, the story. Yeah, the events, yes.
But we don't know that the telling of it. Okay.
When the telling of it.
Because honestly, I'm the way the story is told, there's no design cutting in, and that makes me worried about the fate of design.
But we also know that Wit in design... Hoid, sorry. I dislike the name Hoid.
Okay.
I much prefer Wit.
Topaz.
Wit is so much better, and it's just so much more descriptive of who this character is.
Well, there was a line. There was a line in there about what who was witless.
Yes.
You were saying design.
You do know that design and Wit spend time apart.
Interesting.
I think.
Because I know maybe the rules about Spren are gonna change. Because I mean, we already know it's challenging for Spren to be off Roshar, although I think that changes as of the end of Wind and Truth. But when they're bonded to somebody, we see Syl start to lose her mind as she gets farther and farther away from Kaladin in Rhythm of War.
I don't know. Brandon changes the rules all the time. In his mind, he doesn't change them. They just evolve because there's been so much time passing. But we don't understand what's going on like he does. So it does just appear like the rules changed out of the blue. And we're supposed to take it on faith that it will all be explained in a satisfactory way later.
It often is.
It is. But sometimes, until it's explained, it's just the rules changed.
What do you mean there's 16 medals? There are only 10. Right.
2 of them are just weird. Okay. What do you mean powers work on other planets or they don't work on other planets?
Yeah.
Okay. Before we get deeper, I do want to say that there is another book that is referenced somewhat heavily, or a series that's referenced, and that is reference to the Iriali. So you pointed that out to me because I had, this was not in my brain whatsoever. But we really get to know the Iriali the best in the Stormlight Archive.
So far.
In Stormlight Archive, throughout the various books, it is iterated to us over and over again, not that I noticed the first several times, that the Iriali they consider themselves like cosmic nomads. That they will kind of arrive on a planet, stay there for generations, absorb the experience of living on that planet, and then they will take off and leave. So we did see this in Stormlight and Wind and Truth.
Wind and Truth, yeah.
We did see this in Wind and Truth when they actually all the Iriali got the call to, nope, time to move on. Yep. Grab your bags, you're walking through this
portal
Stargate
thing.
I like Stargate.
But yeah, and then they travel across the cognitive realm to wherever they're going next.
Yeah, so at this point we've seen kind of planets before the Iriali have arrived, while they're occupying a planet, and here in this story we got a reference to the Iriali who have come and gone already.
And they just disappeared 300 years ago.
They just vanished, The entire people, poof. Yeah. There one day, gone the next. That's a quote.
And I think you touched on this, but just to help draw those connections a little bit more, religion of the Iriali is all about the one, where they believe in reincarnation, and all of existence is the one experiencing existence from different perspectives, right? So if you think back to Words of Radiance, there's an interlude told from a budding radiant who's the cobbler, and
haven't reread that yet. We're going to be talking about that in an episode very, very soon.
Yeah, and he's doing nice things for other people, and the street urchins
why?
Yeah, why? But he's like, well, I'm just showing you the kindness that I want to receive when I'm in your shoes.
Because we're all the one person.
We're all the one. Yeah. Now he does get
the urchin is like, well, why do you get to be the one with a shop and a nice life, and I got to be the urchin with a shitty life?
Yes.
Anyways, we'll talk about that more in another episode. But that, that philosophy is experiencing everything. It takes place on a cosmic level as well. And that's what we're seeing. So if you think it's strange that Iriali comes up in a bunch of these different series, that is not by accident. Okay, I want to talk a little bit more about Hoyt.
Okay. There's a lot to say about him. Do we maybe want to talk about... Yeah, let's go.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about what we've learned of Hoyt's history, both kind of in his telling of the story and kind of what he lets slip while he's commenting throughout the story. So he does reiterate that he was a part of a secret plot to kill God.
Oh, yeah.
I think this is referenced a couple times, but in case you were not aware, since this is a casual reader's guide, Cephandrius is very, very old. He was actually part of a group of humans and other humanoid beings.
At least one of them was a dragon, so that's not particularly humanoid.
Well, they have a human form.
Fair enough. Anywho, he was a group of...
There were a group of beings that...
Co-conspirators.
Co-conspirators that decided that they were going to try to destroy God, which is Adonalsium.
Yeah.
At the very last minute, Hoyt seems to have backed out of that plan.
Well, no.
Because he was not one of the 16 who took up a piece of
the
broken shards of Adonalsium.
Right. I don't know if that's...
Something happened at the he didn't
want to take up the power, right, of a shard.
right.
But he's got his own weird purposes throughout the Cosmere, right? And something we've seen throughout the different series is that he is collecting different ways of being magical, right?
Yes.
We see in the 10th anniversary edition of Elantris, there's an added scene of him trying to become an Elantrian, which is, he finally gets that in this book. We see in Mistborn Secret History that he takes the Laracium bead, and presumably that's when he becomes a Mistborn. We don't see him consume it on camera. We see at the end of Oathbringer that he bonds a Spren and becomes a Lightweaver. We see him use other magics that maybe we haven't seen explored on screen other places.
We've seen him use white sand.
Have we?
In Warbreaker? Didn't we see him?
No, that was different from Sand Mastery.
Oh, okay.
It was because the way he was using sand was more of an illusion rather than we talked about this in the Cosmere Connections episode for Warbreaker. How
Okay.
It's still
It's
sand
different.
related, but it's not this. It's definitely different from how the Sand Masters use it.
But anyways, he was a part of that. So it has been eons since then. He's still active and has his mind for the most part. Not during the majority of the story, but anyways.
Well, I think the other thing that's maybe important to note is that he has taken up and gotten rid of and taken up again a Dawn Shard, which is
what is a Dawn Shard, Nick?
that's a whole separate episode. We don't know.
That's the whole... We
Yeah.
could go into particulars of what we don't really know, but no, we don't really know what a Dawn Shard is.
They're super duper magical. They've got
They're
weird
commands.
effects.
They've got commands associated with them, and like change.
Yeah.
And okay, what does that mean? We don't know.
God, we just read it in Wind and Truth, and I completely forgot what the intent of the Dawn Shard he had was. But basically, we know that he can't hurt another living soul as a result of having held the Dawn Shard.
But of that particular Dawn Shard, or of any, or would that be any Dawn Shard?
I believe it was that particular one. But, the only other person we've seen with the Dawn Shard is Risen, and I don't think we've seen her commit violence either.
Sigil.
Right, but that was the same Dawn Shard as Hoyd.
Yeah.
Well, I
Anyways,
yeah,
that was a rabbit hole. We'll get into all of that.
We'll get into that some other time.
As soon as we have something worth talking about with what the heck a Dawn Shard is.
Well, they're the 4 commands that Adonalsium used to create all of creation, but there were also the weapons the 17-ish co-conspirators used to divide Adonalsium's power into 16.
Some other things we learned about Hoyd. Apparently he trades in memories. Don't really know what that means.
Well, we know that he
is able to, he deletes his memories from his brain somehow. Because if you hold him being so old, if he hangs on to the memories, that's where your mind starts to break down. So he kind of...
So, if you've read Mistborn, you know that Sazed can store memories in his copper mines, right? But we also know from Rhythm of War and Wind and Truth that Hoyd, with his great knowledge of awakening and breaths and just investiture in general, is able to store memories in breaths as well. And Odium uses that against Hoyd by, basically deleting Hoyd's memories of their first encounter.
And resetting things and
doing it again the way he wants. Kind of like a quick save in video games, but for their encounter. So presumably that Hoyd is, referencing his ability to have a selective memory.
I think we were trying to get different things.
Sorry.
I don't really know what I was trying to get at. There was something there. Maybe it'll come back to me. Hoyd does have nightmares, which I thought was an interesting tidbit, though he doesn't need as much sleep as normal humans. He said he had a nightmare about repeating jokes.
It's hard to tell when he's being serious and when he's
It
not.
is hard. But Brandon has said multiple times that every single word that Hoyd says is important.
Yeah, but that can't be true for a whole novel. I mean,
I wouldn't put it past Brandon.
He's not Patrick Rothfuss. With the name of the Wind has so much, precise, anyway.
All right, it is very cute, the relationship between Hoyd and Kelsier that we show kind of develop over the eons. In this book, we get Hoyd actually quotes Kelsier. He says, "A push for every pull, an old adversary of mine always says."
Do we think that they're gonna be more adversarial in?
Oh, for sure. It's going to be a huge disappointment if we don't see them clashing.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like in the Lost Metal we saw them.
There seems to be a
At
lot of
least
hype up for
on-
this.
On maybe not working together, but along similar paths. Even if they were definitely adversarial in Secret History.
Oh, I think they're going to be
and
adversarial and then work
and with
together
more-
and then come apart again. And yeah, I think there's
Alright.
got to be a whole arc to this. I feel it. Okay, let's see. Present, future Hoyd. We've got design. Hoyd starts the story with, it's a story of contradictions.
Design is the name of his spren.
Yes, thank you.
It's tough when it's also a word. Anyway.
And design is cryptic spren, and cryptics love contradictions.
And truths.
So I'm wondering if, could this be design pretending to be Hoyd? Cryptics love contradiction.
Although, yeah, and I mean, we know that with the light weaving, which is the one of the surges that one of the powers that Hoyd gets from having bonded design, as well as having access to light weaving through Elantrian magic now, it's totally possible for design to look like Hoyd.
For sure.
Totally disguise herself completely.
I know, I thought it was an interesting choice of words. We also know that Hoyd was present enough in his mind to actually find the midnight spores and collude enough to send them to Tress. Or send Tress to the midnight spores.
Oh, after he lost all his senses?
Yes, because he didn't get on the ship until after he lost his senses.
Well, he showed up in the story before, he had a cameo early on, and Tress didn't note anything about him being senseless then. So I'm wondering if in those early chapters we can figure out exactly when he made the deal with Rhianna the sorceress, because he just seemed like a normal cabin boy, messenger boy. But then again,
I don't think that's necessarily.
Yeah.
Okay, so clearly, even when Hoyd's acting dumb, he's still quite
resourceful.
Well,
and I wonder,
and to the point where this is a failing, right? Because what's his name? Ulam, mentions that it doesn't matter how powerful a person is if they believe they are slightly more powerful than they truly are. There's room between those margins for big errors. That seems a hell of a lot like foreshadowing.
Yeah, and also present shadowing.
Yes.
Because Hoyd did acknowledge that he bit off more than he could chew with that one,
Right, but that's also what brings Rhianna, the sorceress, down.
Well, kind of the opposite of that, right? Where, like Hoyd says, is, hey, there's a 95% chance that she would have won a confrontation. But you don't get to live nearly as long as Rhianna does by gambling on those 5% chances.
Right.
Right. Shit, I had a thought. I lost it.
Hoyd also makes a remark that he says that he was able to use the advice that payments should not be able to speak for themselves. So the example here was that Tress was brought as a prisoner down to the dragon's lair. Since she could speak for herself, she was able to negotiate her way out. So are we going to hear the story that causes that comment about Hoyd taking prisoners and making them not be able to speak?
I mean, it would be more likely that he's the prisoner.
Could be.
I mean, it just, when you think about him as a character...
There's a dark side to Hoyd. And we haven't...
That more in the Sunlit Man, but you're right. And we see little glimpses of it in Play of Kings, I guess.
But there's a shoe that is hovering right there. And it's going to drop, and we're all going to, the golden illusion that we have all as readers dreamt up of Wit... We are going to get smacked around. It's nope. Wit has been saying all along, don't trust me. I've got my own agenda, and it's going to hit. It's going to hurt.
Am I hallucinating, or what? Or did Hoyd, metatextually or whatever, start out as a D&D character that Brandon used to play?
I believe that he had very early, when he even just started reading, he always wanted the idea of a character that kind of spanned all of his writing.
Right, but just his personality is complete and total D&D bard.
I didn't read up on that.
Alright, fair enough.
I bet some AI knows. Okay, let's get back to Hoyd and Tress. So ignore the part that I just said that Hoyd is untrustworthy and he's got his own agenda. And let's get back to our golden image of Hoyd, because Hoyd does save Tress. Well, he didn't have to, but he did.
To be fair, she saved him first. And Hoyd as an unreliable narrator is very interesting because he even tells us...
Those unreliable narrators just kill me.
But between, like, the constant jokes and whatever, it's like, well, I don't remember everybody's names, we're going to call him Doug. But then, like, later on when that
Which
one
is
guy
what I
dies,
do in my head anyways.
Yeah, I know, it's hilarious. People say that Brendan doesn't have a sense of humor. But, you know, he tells us that he doesn't remember any of the Doug's names. But then one of them dies in the Crimson Sea. And then he gets a little bit of an elegy where he gets his name then. And I thought that was really sweet on the one hand, but also like...
Or is it just a good story? Is it just a good...
Well, right, but it's also emphasizing that Hoyd is not trying to be truthful either, right?
Right.
Anywho, you were saying something.
Hoyd saves Tress, didn't have to.
Yeah.
Hoyd talks about the curse that he was under. He said the curse took away his sense of taste and
Not
4 other
that
senses
taste.
as well. And there's a science point that I just want to make, because we caught, like, in elementary school, I feel like most of us learned that we have 5 senses. That's a lie. We have way more than 5 senses. So we just have to we have to fight against the 5 senses knowledge, because that's just not true.
And by the way, the first time he says it's in the 4 other senses, but then he explains later on, it's sense of humor, decorum, purpose,
and sense of self.
And, taste was the first one. So, yeah.
Which, is this, like, actually the curse, or is this Whit being dramatic?
I mean, I'm pretty sure it's just him, I'm pretty sure he's saying it like that for the joke.
All right.
Right.
We do know that the curse works on intent. We do know that intent is a big concept in the Cosmere, so I do want to point that out.
Do you think, also presumably the command that Rihanna used.
So remember that Rihanna is a Elantrian, so the way that the Elantrian magic works is she pretty much writes an equation using symbols layered on top of one another. So she has to be very specific, and then with, like, there are modifiers and all that stuff. So it's very kind of...
I don't think of it like an equation so much as like a code.
Whatever suits your fancy.
It reads to me very much like computer code.
Yeah. So, and you have to be very specific in those codes or commands or whatever. So she had to think of, like, everything in order to put Hoyd under this curse. So Hoyd had to figure out a way to go around the curse in a way that Rhiannon didn't think of and compensate for. Okay. But you alluded to this earlier, Nick, that Hoyd was not an Elantrian. He had tried...
Can I interject with...
Yeah.
I'm wondering if the curse... Because we know that Hoyd has a lot of capital F fortune, right?
What does that mean?
It's kind of a vaguey, wishy-washy, whatever, but it has elements of future sight and being in the right place at the right time.
Knowing
where you need to be for whatever you want to happen. Right, and we know that he doesn't have the best control over it. He can't, like, predict the future particularly accurately.
It's more that he'll show up to a place and he'd be like, this doesn't feel right. This is not where I'm supposed to be.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering if the sorceress knew about that and accommodated that in whatever curse she did, or, like, was Hoyd just lowercase fortunate to have met lowercase f fortunate to have met Tress. Anywho.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's more of just a deep thoughts.
There's so much we need to know about, because we also don't have a good sense of what the Elantrians knew of the greater Cosmere before the Riode, or whether they learned all of this Cosmere-aware knowledge while they were
we know
growing older during the Riode. Which there wasn't that many years. It's not like they would have gotten that much knowledge. I don't know.
Well, I'm just trying to think if we know whether Rihanna is older than the Riode or not. Because we
do. Yeah, no.
Okay, so we definitely see her in Mistborn Secret History, and she's old then, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was before the Riode, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Anyways, so Hoyd did try to become an Elantrian. We do see that at the end of the 10-year anniversary
edition of Elantris.
Yes. So something about connection and not being able to fake the connection. We're assuming to the shards. Help me out here.
Devotion and Dominion.
Devotion and Dominion. So in order to get that connection, he needed like an invitation or to be adopted into the group. So that's
You highlighted the same thing I did.
So that's what Hoyd was bargaining or traded with Rihanna. Yeah. So if he could get free of her curse, she would have to invite him into the Elantrian group.
Yeah. It kind of makes me wonder what he traded for that, or was it just like a straight up gamble bet type of situation?
I think it was like a straight up gamble bet, like because he allowed himself to be cursed.
Yeah.
And his hubris was thinking that he could get out of it, which.
Yeah.
I mean, he did.
Well, you know, he goes on a bit at the end about like, well, it's never been my own abilities that gets me out of trouble. It's that I know how to surround myself with the right people.
I know how to get. Well, and that's an important life skill.
Networking.
But for real, I don't. The younger generations right now are not getting that.
Younger generations never do. That's part of being. Anyway, whatever. It's part of being young. And anyway, whatever.
I have more thoughts on that, but I will keep my tongue. Okay, my question is, how was Hoyd able to use Aeons and use them as a shield to protect Tress when he just got the powers?
Well, I thought he explains that a little bit. I mean, presumably.
I mean, he could have studied.
He's been around for a couple dozen millennia, something like that.
So he could like
he's interacted with Elantrians before. He knows he at least knows the basics.
Okay,
right?
like I think he knows more than the basics.
Right.
But he's never actually like written an Aeon before.
Well, that's not the first time we see a new Elantrian use that same Aeon, right? That's
but it was a complicated Aeon.
No, it wasn't. The shield one? I thought it was the exact same one that what's his face does at the Raoden does at the end of Elantris. Now, granted, he has been practicing even without the ability to do anything with the Aeons. I get it, but like, because he blocks all the stuff from the Bone Monk people. God, it's been.
Yeah, but he had been practicing Aeons.
Yeah,
like they never completed
fair.
And do, but like he could tell whether like they flashed, so he could tell that he was doing the right thing. Like Hoyd would never have gotten that experience.
Yeah, but I was under the impression that like, you know, the D&D spell Shield is a first level spell, so I'm imagining he didn't have to do anything near as complicated, other than just shield.
Eyes are glazing over.
All I'm saying is that it's, he explains it's like, hey, yo, listen, if this had gone on, she would have won, probably, but
That's why you cut and run.
Well,
I'm just saying I find it a little bit unbelievable that he was able to get the powers and half second later have a shield up. It seems a little far-fetched to me. Just saying. Just if anybody else out there is feeling that way, I am with you.
No, not validating that one.
Okay, well, that's very mature of you. Thank you.
Hey, you married me. I know that's your line.
All right. There are things that Hoyd said. I'm just going to say some things. I have a select smattering of things that Hoyd says in the name of the fact that Brandon has said that anything that Hoyd says is not by accident. I don't know what any of this stuff means, but I feel like
so this is
over
just
time
your
we are going to be able to come back to these quotes and say, I know what this is referencing now.
Well, we've already touched on one. It was like, this is for your own good, and how infuriating that is.
Yeah.
And he knows because he said it was 16 other people. Reference to the shattering.
I need to go nibble on my toes for a bit. They taste like fate. And fate was italicized.
I'm pretty sure that's just a non sequitur.
Is he trying to tell Tress that Charlie is with her? Or is this a metaphor that is like super twisted?
I think it's just a non sequitur.
I don't think so.
All right, go on.
We may not know for years, but
Hit me, baby, one more time.
There is something there.
All right, give me something else.
All right, this one I think we do know, kind of halfway. I once ate an entire rock. Had to fight off its family first, though.
Well, I think...
So that could be a reference to the Stormlight character, Rock.
Because we know that they've had interactions, right?
Yes.
Because Rock talks about having seen Trickster God.
And he's like, are you scared of the were you scared? And he's like, of course not. Everybody knows that the Trickster Guard can't harm humans.
Yeah. But...
Eagle's like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
I know who that is.
Right.
Anyway, I just read that, so...
Yeah. But it's also that he didn't eat any. There's a lot of speculation about what happened to Rock after he returned home in Rhythm of War, right?
But we're gonna get a short story about Rock, right?
Eventually, but it's
I thought that's in the next year or two.
It keeps getting moved out.
Everything keeps getting moved out.
Not really. I mean, because then there's anyway. But
But we do know Rock and his family are very, very tight. So if something that you could possibly say that Hoyt ate Rock.
Well, it could be somehow related to him going through the perpendicularity, the same one, cultivation's perpendicularity.
Right. So I feel like we halfway understand this one. Yeah. That we should look out for something that would make this make sense. I think that we have a good possibility of making sense of this one day. Hoyt invented a card game called Kings, where the cards are held backwards while he was cursed. And it seems like it's a game that was spreading.
No, because they were just taking his money.
I think that card game we will see again on different planets. I think so.
Do you think it's related to the card game that they play in Stormlight Archive?
What card game?
There's a card game. I think it's a card game that Kaladin plays with the singers in Oathbringer when he's their prisoner slave.
Oh no! Oh, it's the same card game that Adolin plays with the Emperor.
I didn't think that was a card game. I thought that was. Maybe it is.
I don't know.
I thought that was chess, and then I looked online, and then it was more like Magic the Gathering, and I was like, oh, okay, I didn't realize that. Fuck, whatever.
I think they're separate. Okay, here we go. Here's another one. I once ate an entire watermelon in one sitting, and it gave me diarrhea.
That is nothing. That is nothing. That is just about how sugar wrecks your digestive system. You do it. No, that's nothing. Nothing.
For some reason, I had it down that maybe that equaled it will be a scary bad idea, but I need you to go to the sorceress.
No.
I was looking real hard for meanings in these quotes.
No.
Along the same lines, always wear white to someone else's wedding. As in,
it's just bad because he's lost his sense of taste.
As in, do the stupid thing and go to the Midnight Sea?
No, that's because he's lost his sense of taste, and it is very tasteless to wear white at a wake. Oh my god.
Bad taste. Oh, I didn't see it that way. So not like tongue taste, but as in like.
Yes, he talks. No, not that sense of taste. The important sense of taste. That's why he's wearing socks and sandals and a mullet and a Hawaiian shirt in the finale.
Okay, all right.
Aloha shirt, excuse me.
I have another one.
Which, if you've looked at the official illustrations on either the website or in the Dragonsteel editions of the book, you'll see that the Aloha shirt that Hoyt is wearing is decorated with marewill flowers, which have significance in Mistborn. Anyway.
That's the flower. Continue. That's the flower that Mare wanted.
Yeah.
Kelsier's partner. More. There once was a farmer with a tulip bulb who had nowhere to plant it. He found a place to sit here, then threw a fit. Or to sit there? I don't know. And accidentally smashed it into a pulp. What does this mean?
I don't know. You're the one who plants tulips every year.
Do you have... Maybe it's somehow saying that you have everything you need? Or maybe that Tress needs Crow?
I don't... I have no clue.
I don't know. If any of you out there have an idea, I'm completely lost on this one, but it's a long kind of short story anecdote, and I'm like, there's something here.
I'm surprised you're not trying to dig up more about the Tosher and the potato story.
I loved that story.
No, it was so shitty, pun intended.
Good job meaning your puns.
Thanks.
Okay, all right. Enough about Hoyt. Let's talk about...
Well, we want to talk about Aethers, and because we see Aethers in...
Okay, I have that further down, but we can talk about...
No, it's fine. We can talk about Awakening. We can,
I want to talk a little bit about...
About who?
Xysis.
The dragon.
It's spelled Xisis.
Yes.
Xysis.
We listened to the audiobook version of this before we did any of the other ones. Come on.
But seeing it messes my brain up.
Okay, it's Xysis.
Just like I have to close my eyes and think Yesna, and then look at the word and be like, I guess that means Yesna.
I think you mean Yasna. Anyway. Yasna.
Okay. All right. Couple quick things. This is the first time we've kind of seen a dragon on screen.
It is.
We have read letters from a dragon, but we have not seen one on screen. This is the first time.
Oh, unless you count cultivation and her appearing to Dalinar Oathbringer. But it's different because she's a shard.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Also, that's all a blur. Okay, kind of like it is for Dalinar. This dragon has been on the planet below the Crimson Sea for over 300 years. He arrived after the Iriali left, so is that a coincidence? I think not. What significance that has? No idea. That's just the theme of today. Quick facts, just to have it all in our brains. Dragons are known as dragons across all of the Cosmere. It is same name. Dragons like to interact with mortals. I think that's pretty similar with our own kind of outside of Cosmere human. That's mythology.
Well, there's different kinds. I mean, there's different mythoses. I don't know. There's different traditions, and a lot of times, like you think of Smaug in Lord of the Rings, he did not like interacting with mortals. He wanted to be left alone with his hoard, right? He wanted to collect more things.
Which brings up another point. Dragons in the Cosmere do hoard ideas. They don't hoard materials, but they do hoard ideas.
Was that Xysis in particular or dragons in general?
I think that was dragons in general.
Okay.
Another thing that we learned about dragons is that there's metal on dragons' corpses.
Dragon steel, you might call it, as in the name of his publishing company.
And apparently dragons like the taste of mortal hearts.
Wait, where are you coming that from?
From the text. But I had a
It's been
question
months
mark.
since I read it.
I had
I
a
don't
question
know.
mark after it. Like, was that like Hoy? I don't know. But it was mentioned.
But he's a totally reliable narrator. We just talked about that, right? Wink, wink.
And for some reason, Xysis needed to have an excuse to let Tress go. So I think I'm interpreting this more as his reputation. Like, he doesn't want, mortals to just come and go and have a reputation for it being okay to just come visit the dragon without important matters to discuss. But he also, wasn't interested in keeping Tress.
I suspect we're going to have a lot more to say about dragons after Emberdark is out.
We shall see. But apparently there's some kind of code that dragons either don't want to or shouldn't or can't interfere too much with technological progress on the planets they occupy, which...
I believe that is more related to the 17th Shard organization run by Frost, who is also a dragon.
I don't know where you're pulling that from.
Well, we know...
I guess we did see the kind of an implant in Sunlit Man, where we saw a little cell of... Well, I guess that wasn't 17th Shard.
Yeah, no. I was thinking the letters back and forth between Frost and Hoyd in the Stormlight Archive, where, I mean, I know it's not talked about in the text as being, called the 17th Shard, but we have words of Brandon talking about that, and, that's their whole shtick is non-intervention.
So Frost is at the head of 17th Shard?
I'm not sure.
Because that would be trippy, one of the 16 shards being the head of the 17th Shard?
I don't know if I don't think Frost is a shard.
Oh, okay.
But rather, I believe that Frost and Hoyd at one point were very close.
Okay. All right, that's enough about dragons. A little bit on the source, and then we can talk about ethers in the magic system. So the source is Eladrin. We've gone over that. We see her in Secret History.
Secret History, yeah.
Mistborn Secret History, very briefly. She has aeons all over the place. That's how she curses. And that makes sense because she's Elantrian.
She has a laptop that she's playing solitaire on.
Yes, but is not of Elantrian make. That is of
Nalthis.
The
same world as Warbreaker.
So she gets around too.
And Fort had a Nalthian tablet. I guess two of them. Over the course of the story.
And Rhianna knows Ulam, who is a Khandra of Scadrial. So she is well aware of Scadrial as well. So in Elantris, we do see that the Elantrian magic system is tied to a foundational aeon that is connected to a planet, to their home planet. So we're assuming that each planet has their own kind of foundational symbol, and that's why Elantrians can use their powers on different planets, but we're not really sure.
The speculation I've read online about that was more that it is geographically located, but in order for, because we see at the end of Elantris that Raoden is significantly weaker after he goes across an ocean, basically, right?
Right, but he's still using the Aeon for
right
the city that he's in.
Right. And so the speculation part is that there's some way to basically bootstrap it where you've got you set up a map and of the area that you're in, and then connect it to the door in the cognitive realm somehow.
Distance is not nearly as much of a problem for some who knows reason.
Yeah, and then you can pull through the door wherever you've got that set up, right? And then it's still geographically located, but it's wherever you've set yourself up.
Yeah.
But that's, I think, pretty speculative, not, canonical.
Probably by the time that we get to that in Era 2. But when we have our episode about it. Yeah.
Well, but it can't be the same as in there, because in the Lost Metal, they had to have, jars of purified door that they carried with them. And so we didn't see the sorceress have big old, glowing jars of investiture. Sorry, the miming was probably...
Okay, there will be. We'll talk more about it then. Apparently there are several different ways that you can use Aeons outside of, or off of, whatever planet that was, that I cannot remember.
Cell.
Right,
because yeah.
Yes, no.
Cell phones.
All right, so here are my notes about Rhiannon being kind of surviving the Riode, because there was comments about her being a withered husk, and that she has her hair back, kind of a thing.
Well, right, because when we saw her in Secret History, they were all...
They were all bald and gray and all that jazz. And it's very weird that she was granting requests. I mean, you have two beings. You have the dragon and you have the sorceress that are kind of granting requests and messing with the planet. And apparently they have no qualms about that. I don't...
Well, I'm not trying to figure out why... Because they talked about the sorceress kidnaps people and she wants the ransoms are other people, something like that. But the sorceress's motivations don't make sense to me.
No, they don't. And then also she on her little island thing, she also has metal soldiers, and apparently I believe the inference was that they were controlled by breaths. So
they were awakened.
They were awakened.
Not necessarily using breaths.
But she was also tapped into the Nalthian.
I believe...
Or is awakened a concept outside of...
That one. I believe awakening is not necessarily tied to Nalthis. To the breaths that we see in Warbreaker. That's the most convenient way to do it.
Where else have we seen awakening?
Nowhere yet.
Except maybe here.
Except maybe here and maybe... the Lost Metal with the Men of Gold and Red.
Good Lord, I don't understand Lost Metal at all.
It's been a minute. I need to reread it too.
I've read it 2, maybe 3 times, and every time you talk to me about it, and I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. It's like we read 2 different books, and then you're like, okay, I got this one part of it that you talked to me about, and then I've got to read it again to get another layer, because... Good Lord. Okay. I love the books. I do. I just like complaining about them, too.
There's a lot. It's like someone should make a podcast explaining all this shit.
And do a poor ass job of it.
Yo, listen. We're trying.
Okay. Ulam. I'll try to be quick. He arrived on the planet after Hoid was cursed. That's because Hoid did manage to get him a letter or something of some kind, and Ulam pretty much just came to watch, because that's what a good friend does, is let me just watch you make a fool of yourself.
We see more of Ulam in Wind and Truth doing very similar stuff.
Ulam is a Khandra, so he is kind of undying?
Functionally immortal.
Functionally immortal, so
unless there's fire involved, basically.
So spending a year on a ship, or 2 years on a ship watching Hoid make fun of himself is really just not a whole lot of time to him. And
chef's kiss.
Yes.
He's really enjoying himself, too. Ulam might be my favorite character in this book. There's a lot of favorite characters in this book.
There's also a passing comment. I swear they've all been getting weirder ever since Sazed released them. So this is definitely after the events of Mistborn Era 1, because Sazed released the Khandra, and apparently... somehow did something that made them weirder.
Well, I was about to say, I don't think we've seen Khandra being particularly released, right? I mean...
this is not my wording.
I know, right? So, I'm thinking that I suspect that's a reference to future events.
That we haven't seen. Okay.
Yeah, because because it's a big point in Mistborn Era 2, particularly Shadows of Self, that, the Kandra are all subject to not the whims of Harmony, but, they're all subject to his influence, right?
And then, but somehow Hoyd is more immortal than Ulam.
Well, yeah.
But why? Is that because of the shard the Dawn shard that Hoyd carries?
No. I think that has more to do with what we see in Wind and Truth, where even when Hoyd gets totally vaporized by a shard, which is a hilarious thing in its own right, he's got little cultures of himself, elsewhere, and so his cognitive, spiritual essence, whatever,
just went and found the unvaporized portion.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to put that together in my brain.
So, in Harry Potter terms,
oh god,
Hoyd has a Horcrux, and that's it.
Yep, I would think several.
Yeah, and it seems like they're easier for him to make than they are in Harry Potter.
What kind of consequences of his soul?
Yeah, whatever.
Because that was a big point in Harry Potter as well. Like,
well, right, but it doesn't look like he has to actually
Lord,
split
what
his
do you
soul.
mean? Horrible to split it once. You want to split it?
Anyway.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about Aethers. Or do you want to save that for another day?
No, we can talk about Aethers real quick. We only see 6 different Aethers on screen. We know that there are 12 different seas, each with different colors, spores, with rumors of a 13th Aether, the Bone Aether, or bone spores, which are not likely to be true Aethers. They sound more like the sand from White Sand from Talbane. But the 6 spores we see in Tress are the Crimson spores, which make the pokey
crystals,
which are different from the Rosite crystals that are more structural and less sharp and pokey. We see the verdant or green spores, which make vines. We see the zephyr spores, which make puffs of air. We see sunlight spores, which they use for their ovens and for fire and stuff. And we see the midnight spores, which are made of midnight essence, which are kind of different. We see those in... We see...
Dalinar's visions back in...
Way of Kings. As well as Midnight Essence plays a big part in Oathbringer with Midnight Mother. One of the Unmade creates creatures out of Midnight Essence, very similar to how the Sorceress uses the Midnight Spores.
Yeah, I still don't have Midnight anything under my brain right now. But getting back to kind of this planet is Lumar. Aethers are found everywhere in the Cosmere, but they are a little bit different here on Lumar. Not everywhere. Well, they're found in other places. Aethers do not originate on this planet. They're special on this planet because while they have a symbiosis with humans, the bond on this planet is much more aggressive than what you would find on other planets. Each Aether is connected to a primal element, which Nick was just explaining.
We see another Aether-bound person in the Lost Metal, whose name totally escapes me, but he uses Rosite,
and
Aethers.
And that's more of a...
They're more symbiotic. Rather than violent and explosive.
Yes. On this planet, when water is added, they pull the spores pull investigators straight from the spiritual realm to germinate. So we don't deal a whole lot with the spiritual realm until you get to Wind and Truth, but normally we're pulling stuff more commonly from the cognitive realm or interacting with the cognitive realm. But these Aethers pull straight from the spiritual realm to germinate. And somehow the Aethers use this water to supply the Aethers on the moons of Lumar.
Yeah, it's very hand-wavy.
I think a big thing to kind of get in your brain is that Aether connections can be stolen and severed. We see this take place in the story many times. Some vocab for you. Luhel bond is a bond that trades in physical matter such as water. So Aether bonds are Luhel bonds. Nahel bonds.
The midnight. The midnight.
The midnight, yes.
Yeah, so let's say, because there's no real bond with the verdant or the other ones.
But is there?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's no bond with those, because they don't continue drawing water off of
No, but
Tress.
but there is like a presence, like a mind-to-mind thing.
Well,
Did you not notice that in the story?
yeah, but that's more like, like traditional, like how Awakening has a command and an intent,
Okay.
right?
All right.
But so it's not like a continuing bond.
Okay, you're right. It's not continuing. Okay. The Nahil nail or Nahil. Nahil.
The Null bond, the Lul bond and the Null bond.
Whatever.
There's no Null bonds in this.
This is just vocab going in the difference between Luhel and Nahil bond.
Those are the Spren bonds.
Yeah, so the Spren bond is a trade in consciousness / anchoring to reality for powers. Lumar has a weird thing about a storm. Hoyd says that it's not a direct, no entity directs its storms, but it is quite fearsome, and it's hard to believe for him that a shard isn't behind it because it is so strong.
Like I think I mentioned this in the last episode that we recorded. It's reminiscent to me of like the red spot on Jupiter, right? There's just whatever's going on with the atmosphere in Lumar. There's consistent storms in consistent locations, except over the Crimson Sea.
Or maybe it's little tiny remnants of the shard whimsy
Hey, what?
that got left behind. This is just my pure speculation.
I was about to say, Whimsy hasn't been shattered that we know of.
No, but I don't know. But maybe it's a trace. Like maybe Whimsy was on this planet for a little bit, and
Or
this
maybe
was
it's
just
like the wind left behind from Medial Nauseam on Roshar.
something like that. So I don't know. Whimsy was mentioned a couple times in this book, and I just we know that like. I will take them at the word that there's no shard on this planet during the events of this story, but that doesn't mean that there wasn't once a shard on that planet and that then since left.
Yeah, that's fair.
What happens to the spores that sink? They must degrade, but there's really no mention of that. Because spores are continuously falling.
It's one of the things Isis was studying.
Was it?
Yeah, and I think we hear. Yes, Ulan talk about walking along the bottom of the Aether Seas because it's not that.
Okay, I swear this is my last section. General.
I was about to say, it's like I have more to say about the Aethers too.
Oh, go for it. Go
right?
for it.
We see more of the Aethers in the Lost Metal. They pull investiture from the spiritual realm, like you said, but they are separate from the shards of Adonalsium. They predate the shattering.
Yeah, that's also an important concept. Yep.
Yeah. And I think that's interesting because most of, all the other magic stuff that we see on screen in the Cosmere is related to those shards. So they're unique.
But things did exist before the shards.
Yeah. Actually, that might have just been all I wanted to say.
Okay. I have a couple things about the General Cosmere. There was a mention of
do we want to like take off the other different magic systems that we see in this? Because we've seen Elantrian magic. We saw Awakening, both in the tablet that Fort uses. Isis also uses Awakening to it wasn't curtains. What is? He definitely uses some sort of Awakening when interacting with Crow, but it's interesting because he doesn't need a verbal command to do it. So either he was using something separate from Nalthian breaths, or he's got a fuck ton of breaths, more than like on the same level as the God Kings of Helendrin, right? And he wasn't even touching the thing he was awakening, right? So that's a lot. That takes a lot of breaths to do. We see, the Metalman we talked about. We see, I guess that was it. Oh no, there's the iron and steel connection, where the tools that the Sprouter's tools that Tress uses, they're analogous to
pulling and pushing.
Yeah, the Mistborn metals, right? Where iron pulls in Mistborn, and it draws the spores closer to her, or the rosite or whatever, and steel does the opposite.
Nope.
It's nifty. Even if Brando made fun of us for paying attention to that kind of stuff in the book. Very cheeky.
General Cosmere stuff. There's a passing reference to the depth of the lilting abyss of Thrinity. What's that?
Presumably the evil.
The vague,
Yes.
hand-wavy evil.
Well, there's going to be more exploring that one for sure.
The question is when.
He's only putting out like several books. Anyway, whatever, it's fine.
Powerful users of investiture are known to have familiars. Have we seen this? Like, I guess there's AVRs.
There's AVRs, there's Spren.
But those aren't animals.
No, but I mean, they're kind of, if you think about what a familiar is, they kind of look like familiars. And we've got the Seons in...
But it's not just like users of investiture. It's powerful users of investiture are known to have familiars.
And the Seons from Elantris. We don't know how Seons get made still, but like it is, those are kind of familiar-y. They're intelligent companions.
Okay.
To me, that's a familiar.
Okay.
Magical, intelligent companion.
Brandon mentions Mondays and holidays in this book, and I don't really remember.
Wait, really? I totally missed that. Or at least it's been a few months since I read it.
He hasn't really mentioned holidays in other Cosmere books. I mean, I guess there's a little bit in Storm. There are in-world holidays.
There's in-world holidays in the Emperor's Soul also.
Okay, all right, maybe. All right. Tress does reference Marsh as Death, old Iron Eyes himself.
Death, spikes in his eyes.
Spikes in his
or
eyes.
nails in his eyes.
So somehow Marsh is getting around, or maybe that's the Iriali that have passed this image along. We don't really know for certain, but probably one of those two paths, at least, if not both.
There's an Ars Arcanum reference in one of the Mistborn Ever 2 books that talks about how the imagery of Marsh as Death has spread across other Cosmere worlds, probably from other world hoppers.
Okay.
It's still speculation, but it's in-universe speculation.
Okay.
We're making a nerd podcast here. I'm going to nerd out.
For some reason, so there was also a passing reference when Hoyd was talking about for your own good with 16 people who took up the shards, that they didn't trust God to make good decisions. So I have to believe that there's some kind of world-ending or Cosmere traumatic event that caused these people to think that Adonalsium was not trustworthy to make good decisions. Like, it's not like they just would have randomly come up with that. There was probably something that happened to them to lead to believe this, and I'm very curious as to what that would be.
I'm forgetting whether it's a word of Brandon or where we got this tidbit, but I thought each of the conspirators had different motivations between them, right? Like Ray's, who became Odium, was driven by lust for power, right?
Yeah.
Whereas other shards, like Ati, who became Ruin, were, more benevolent.
Yeah, I don't know. Getting back
How
to...
do I know that?
I don't know. You pick up strange things and then don't pick up other things, and we have conversations and we didn't read the same book somehow.
I'm pretty sure that one came from epigraphs in Stormlight, probably Oathbringer.
Okay, getting back to your examples of magic from other planets, there was a reference to Ceslo, the awakened computer. Awakened normal tech. Hoyd actually referred to it as a spirit, so maybe this is Threnody tech from something that they asked their spirit Threnody spirits to create, because we know that Threnody spirits will kind of build things.
And we see that in Sunlit Man. I was thinking more like whatever the name of the world is in Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, because that's also their spirits, and we see an awakened machine at the end of Yumi and the Nightmare Painter.
Yeah, and that's just a whole nother thing. We cannot get into that today. And one very last thing. What was the reptilian creature with the golden eyes and toothy grin?
Some kind of non-human sapient creature.
And we're bringing it back to the theme of the day, which is
I don't know. But it only had 2 arms, right? So it wasn't whatever the 4-armed creatures at the end.
I don't know. I didn't want to picture
Man.
it, so I didn't in my brain. I was like, okay. Reptilian creature. Doesn't look good. Got it. That's enough for me.
But it's probably also not a singer because it's not. A reptilian is not. They've got carapace, but they're not reptilian, I don't think. But then again, how would somebody
on a different planet describe them?
Man, I don't know.
So glad I'm not a writer. Okay. I think that's the show.
I think that's it.
The episode.
Thanks everybody for listening to our podcast. Thank you, dear, for podcasting with me.
Thanks for podcasting with me.
If you have questions, feedback, whatever, our email is cosmerecasual@gmail.com. Our handle on social media is cosmerecasual. Our intro and outro music is licensed through Tribe of Noise. The artist is Ketsa, and the song is Odyssey.
And until next time, cousins, keep your wits about you.
Right, but seriously, it's Doug's. This was the book with Doug's.
Bigger than my guns. I like cousins.
Doug's, keep your wits about
There's
you.
a sense of camaraderie with cousins.
I mean, but Doug's, they're literally comrades. I mean, I guess, anyway, it's...
I just think back to the TV show Doug.
Do 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 do. Da 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 da. We're getting copyright struck.